Hey everybody, it's Ellen Lewis from Crazy for You. And I am 2 weeks back from H+H in Cologne, which is such a fun show. I've never been before. I've always kind of wanted to go because it is where all of the knitting and stitching and sewing vendors first show their stuff. They show it all in Europe. And then later on in May, it comes to the United States. So it's kind of like a sneak peek. And the thing I really wanted to share with you today that I'm super excited about is three of the coolest advancements or long awaited things from three of my favorite needle purveyors. So the first is Rowan. I want to show you Rowan's long awaited interchangeable needle set. I want to show you the Lykke set. They have a brand new set called Flight. And I also want to tell you about two innovations that ChiaoGoo has. So I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to share that with you. So, hey, Donna. Hey, Barbara. It's nice to see you guys. So, the first thing, like I said, that I wanted to share with you is the Rowan interchangeable needles. They are fabulous. I was so anxious for them. If you have ever knitted with the Rowan needles, they really are just lovely. Very highly polished, very carefully 4 layers of lacquer with a beautiful smooth shaft, a nice tip, and they're this lovely wooden, all very Rowan branded. But what I had was a set of needles that were all 32-inch in length. So the circular needles were all 32-inch in length. So we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for Rowan to come out with these interchangeable needles. And I was so concerned that they be just right. And I will tell you, I know David McLeod's been working on them a long time. He is the Rowan brand manager, and he knocked them out of the park. If everything you could possibly want in a set of Rowan interchangeable needles is here in this set. They are absolutely beautiful. So let me share my screen and show them to you. I'm going to show you all the way up here. Okay. Okay, so here are the Rowan needles. They have this beautiful little case. You can see that it's very nice and compact. It's not much bigger than my hand. So it just fits in your knitting bag or even in your purse. It's just absolutely the perfect right size. Closes up like this. So, just the very traditional kind of gray canvas that you know and love. And inside, there's this little pouch that is attached. And that's where the cables and the little accoutrement live. Now, these are not available yet, but I was lucky enough to get my hands on this set to share with you. So they are, as you can see, they are 5-inch. So nice long. Can you see that beautiful? Let's see. You can see that the lovely wood. They are dyed birch. They are sustainable. And you can see the beautiful wood grain in there. You can see that it's a nice tip, pointy, but not sharp like you're going to hurt your finger with it. So they're really lovely. Do you see what I'm saying about the grain? Sometimes with these dark needles, it can be hard to see darker yarns on it, but you have a beautiful grain on this, which gives you some light and dark. Now you can see that I am missing a pair right here because I went ahead and real quick like a bunny cast on my lovely new Rowan Trio yarn with the 3.25. Right, so this is the one that I'm using. So really pretty, very smooth join. So you can see that it has a swivel, right? So it's a swivel join. So the needle rotates independently from the cable. And let me just talk about these cables a minute. These are your fine, no memory cables. They have, like other brands that have sort of had the lock on this kind of a cable before, we see that same beautiful cable in these Rowan needles. They pop right out of your case and they don't stay kinked up. So if you've been waiting for this beautiful aspect of interchangeable needles to show up in Rowan needles, wait no more, because they are here. And as I said, everything is very carefully Rowan branded. The join is that beautiful Rowan brown. The cable is, and it's a fine cable, but obviously sturdy, strong. It doesn't kink. It's not going to curl. It's not going to be a problem. Even this really long one is just perfect. And the yarn that I'm using is a sport weight. Like I said, I'm knitting this on a 3.25, and I find the join to be perfect. Part of the issue with sometimes having a swivel needle is, you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything you want. So there does have to be a tiny bit of space between the cable and the needles to allow it to rotate. And some people find that catches. I have found this to be not catchy on that. It's not at all a problem for me. And I've knit, you can see quite a bit of this fine yarn with it. So I am extremely happy. The tips are numbered and labeled on there. You can see that. Very smooth. The join, the whole thing is just super smooth, and it's a perfect tip. Not too pointy, but plenty pointy. This is cotton, and like I said, it's a fine yarn, and I am very happy with the tip on this. They are so nice. So question that we had about this, how do they compare to the Lykke? They have more, they're smoother. They have more polish. They have this lacquer on them. So the feel of the needle is smoother. They're glossier, and I think they glide a little better, but they are just lovely. And they have all of the things, all of the little goodies that you would expect. This is going to make you a 24-inch needle. This is going to make you your 32-inch needle, and this is going to make you your 40-inch needle. And there's several in there, two 32s and a 40. And then you have your end stoppers in there. And I will also say that this is probably a demo set that they gave me ahead of time. I'm quite sure that when the whole thing comes out, it'll all be packaged with, more stuff. But this is something that David and Trisha were gracious enough to give me to review and to share with you guys, just so that you know how fabulous it is. And I know you're probably wondering how much they cost. And I'm not going to say that because different retailers are going to price them at different amounts, but I will tell you that they are reasonable. They are not outrageous. They are in line with other needles of this quality. So they also have been very true to kind of keeping the needle sizes in keeping with the Rowan core yarn sizes. So they go from, this is a 2.5 US 2.5 needle, which is a 3 millimeter, and they go up to US 10. So it's a nice set that I think would serve you well if you're looking for a beautiful kind of one compact set that gives you most everything you need for the things that you would knit kind of in the Rowan line. I am completely in love with it. I cannot wait to bring these to you. I am so excited about it. They're simple, they're uncomplicated, they just make sense. There's not a lot of confusing aspects. You know, sometimes I find that when you have a product that has so many options, it gets very confusing. This to me just makes sense in the clean, elegant way that Rowan makes sense. The needles are beautiful, they're smooth, they're pointy, the cables are perfect, and the join is perfect. So I'm in love. Any questions on the Rowan needles? I know a lot of people have been waiting for these, and I don't know when they're going to be available. As I said, this was a kind of a prototype that David and Tricia shared with me ahead of time, so I can't. I just don't know when they're going to be here, but yay. Okay, so that is the Rowan set, and I am beyond excited about it. The next set that I wanted to talk about is another introduction from Lykke. And I don't have a set of the needles here with me, but I do have a few of the individual interchangeables that I will share with you. Okay, so let me grab those. This aside. All right, Meredith says, I'm so excited. Yes, Donna, can't wait. Yay. And Meredith says, when do they become available? I don't know. I may have a better handle on it after H+H in May. But I'm sure it will be before the fall. So I'm thinking spring, summer. I think that would be not overly optimistic to expect to see those by spring, summer. Okay, so what we have from Lykke, and that is a new set of interchangeables that are metal. So in the past, the only metal needles that Lykke had available were the copper ones, the Cipro. And these are called Flight. And they are stainless steel. And I'll show you these close up. And I think they are also very lovely. They are different entirely from the Rowan. So let's have a look at those. Okay, so these are the two of the three sets that I got. There's one other set here. Okay, so he gave me three different sizes. This is not how they come. This is not how they'll be packaged. They're packaged in a beautiful, like a faux suede. So very pretty. Actually, I can show you that. So hang on a second. I can show you. Yes. Okay. So this is how they will be packaged. I asked I asked Sion to take the glass cover off of this case. This was hanging on the wall in the booth, in the Lykke booth, and I couldn't get a good picture because the light from the booth kept reflecting off the glass. So he went and fetched some set of screwdrivers and took the glass off so that I could take a picture. Now, this is what's called the mid set, and this has, like the Rowan, sort of your most popular sizes. I don't remember exactly, but I think there's something like maybe 4 to 10.5, or 3 to 10.5. We'll have more data on that later on. But I can show you 3 different sizes that I have here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 different sizes of needles. You've got 4 cables, all of the doodads and end stoppers. So all good stuff, right? Okay, so here's my take on the Lykke. Again, they have a beautiful 5-inch shaft. it may seem even slightly, no, it's exactly the same length. So a 5-inch shaft. And again, this is a swivel. You can see that the needle rotates separately from the cable. And they have, just like the others, and this mechanism that you've come to expect, where there's a little key that goes in to tighten the needle tip to the cable. But these are made of stainless steel, and everyone was very, I won't say everyone. When I talked to the person, Sion, who's responsible for developing these with the manufacturer, he made much of the fact that this is a higher grade stainless steel. I want to say a 316 grade stainless steel versus a 304 grade stainless steel. So 316 is a higher quality stainless steel, more corrosion resistant, and you can see that they're very shiny. You know, they're very highly polished. So they are very smooth. The tip is extremely pointy. So these are the kinds of needles that are gonna, maybe hurt your fingers. This is the size 9, and even the tip on the size 9 is very, very sharp. They do have the same connection that all the other Lykkes do. So if you had extra cables, you could attach them to your non-swivels. But anyway, so that's what this one is about. Lovely shaft, lovely taper, sharp, sharp tip, which you really can only get a tip that sharp with metal, So if you like that sharp tip, it's got it. And the cable, again, is that lovely cable that we all like, the no memory, no kink cable. I think this is the wave of the future. I don't think any other kinds of interchangeable needles are ever going to come out that don't have this kind of cable. It's sort of become a de facto requirement for interchangeable needles because it is so hard to argue with this beautiful cable. Let's see. Maria asked, will the cables work with the wooden needles? Yes, they're all interchangeable. All interchangeable. In fact, I believe that these tips will interchange with, even with the Rowan. So let's have a look at that if you wanted to do that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But you probably wouldn't want to do that, do they? No. They are not interchangeable with the Rowan, but they would be interchangeable with themselves, I believe. That was sort of too good to be true, wasn't it? So, very pretty. So, do they have some weight to them? They have, I really kind of don't feel like they are weighty. Donna's question is, do they have some weight to them comparable to ChiaoGoo? These feel lighter, but not in a bad way. They don't feel heavy, if you know what I mean. To knit with them, when the two of them are on my cable here and I'm working with them, I felt like they were substantial, but I didn't feel any kind of fatigue from them. Right now, I'm not working with the jumbo sizes. This, I think, is a US 7. And, it doesn't feel weighty. I think the metal is maybe lighter than some others. I'm not sure. I would have to actually weigh the tips to see, but I do think that they are really lovely. And their prime selling point here is the cables, but this sharp tip. I haven't seen a tip this sharp on any other Lykke needle. So if that's your jam, then these are wonderful. And they do all interchange with all of the cables and all of the other accessories from all the other Lykke line. So here is a a longer cable. You can see it's been wound up for months and months. I'm just now unwrapping it, and it's, you know, nice and easy. And it's not going to be kinky or kind of a mess. So I like them. Again, the join I find very smooth. I did not see any problem. I did not have any problem knitting with these, even with a finer yarn. So they were really very nice. Donna says the 316 stainless is surgical and heavier than 300, 304. Yeah, they are. The difference, they're both surgical steel. So the 304 is also surgical steel. The difference is the susceptibility to corrosion. So I've never had any needles rust, but it may be that this grade of stainless steel is allowed to be polished to a higher sheen. And that might make it a little more, I don't know, in the medical field, a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little less prone to bacteria, or, not that we're worried about that. We're not doing any surgery with this, but anyway, I think they're beautiful, and they come in a variety of sets. As I said, there is this one. This is what I ordered and brought in this beautiful purple. The mid-range, and all of these cables are interchangeable. There is a larger set that I didn't take a picture of that is size 13, 15, and 17, and they have a different sized cable and a different sized connection. And then there is also a very tiny set that goes from US 0 to US 2.5, so very, very small, and they have a different connection as well. So, but just beautiful, really very, very pretty. I always say the right tool for the right job. Sometimes you need a very, very sharp needle, depending on what you're doing. If you're trying to do lace and knit 5 together with a really fine yarn, you're going to want a pointy tip and a deep taper to get in there. If you have problems with your wrist, or you're working on a large needle, having that swivel cable is really helpful and provides a lot of relief to wrist strain. So the third thing I wanted to tell you about, and I'm sorry that I don't have a sample of this to show you, but it is so clever, and I'm not at all surprised that this is an innovation put together by ChiaoGoo. And again, I love ChiaoGoo also. I love all my needles. They're all different, right? Like my kids, I love them all. They're all different. ChiaoGoo, as you know, instituted, or they invented, or they premiered on the market this no kink cable. And what they have now, because they went in their Forte set, they went to the swivel, where, like this, where the needle twists independently of the cable. And some people had a hard time with that. Other people loved it. What they have come up with, so clever, I can't believe it, is a little piece that goes in between. Okay, now these are the Lykke Flights, but it goes in between the shaft and this join right here. And the cables that go with this are fixed, so they're not rotating like this. Okay, do you see that the rotation on this cable is between the cable and the little join that screws into the shaft? Okay, so on this new iteration that they have, this is fixed, so there's no possibility of anything catching up in there. But in order to maintain the rotation ability, or the twist ability, they have another piece that fits in between here that rotates. So the rotation doesn't happen Well, there goes that. The rotation doesn't happen in between the cord and the connector. It's a solid piece of metal with a very, very close join, and the rotation happens there. And there's no way for yarn to really catch there because it is so tiny and so precise. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and it was sort of a way that ChiaoGoo was saying, you love the flexibility, but you don't like the catch. Here's something we can do. And those little devices or connectors, not available yet, but they're coming later in the year. And I will absolutely get those. They will work with all of the ChiaoGoo needles. You can go ahead and stick them in, and then you can have the rotating cables, or the twist cables, and that really tight, smooth joint that you love. So it looks like we have some comments. Okay, sizes of what you got us for the mid-range. Oh, Donna, I cannot remember offhand. I think they go up to 11. It's either 10.5 or 11. And that would be, so if it's 11, let's just look. This would be 11, 10.5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. It might also be that this is 10.5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I kind of feel like it starts at 3 and goes up. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10.5. So I don't know for sure, but I'm going to step on a limb and say that it goes 3 to 10.5 on this range, right? So anyway, if you are working in the really small sizes, if you are a small size girl, you can certainly get the smaller set. I'm happy to get it for you. If you are interested, comment in the comments, and then I'll know when they come in, who to let know about them when they're available. So I thought that was a cool innovation. Another cool innovation that ChiaoGoo had is they have square needles now. I didn't love them. Okay. The ones I tried were a big size, so maybe I don't love the big size. Okay. I think it was maybe a 13 that I was knitting with. I am a fan of square needles kind of generally, like I'm a big fan of the Addi Rockets. These didn't appeal to me. And again, I think it's probably because I was on such a big size and I'm not a huge big size needle girl. But they are coming out and they are lovely, and they have that twist mechanism that works with them in the set. It was interesting to see how important the twist or that rotation is in the larger size needles. You don't notice the need for it quite as much in the smaller needles or in the round needles, because the needles are kind of like rotating in our hands. When you have the square needles and you don't have that rotation, when you're working, it's very awkward. And she had a little a little demo at her booth showing that. And I thought that was really interesting. I should have taken a video of it, but they were very crowded. So I didn't want to, bother them trying to set up a shot. I wanted to give everybody a chance to see. So it was very exciting, and lots and lots of good things coming, but those were the top new things available in needles at H+H Cologne. So very cool. Wondered if there's anything I can answer for you. Let's see. I love the square needles. They're easy on the hand. So Barbara, tell me if you use the Addi Rocket squares, which I use. Those are really my favorites. I love them. And mine don't have a rotating cable on them. They're just fixed, as you know, Addies are. So those are the three brands of needles that I really, really like is the Rowan, the Addis, the Lykke, and the ChiaoGoo. And they're all so different. You know, they're so different and they all have their pros and cons. A lot of people will ask me, what should I buy? You know, which set should I buy? Which is the best? Really, there is no best. They're different. I own all of them and I use different ones for different purposes. So whenever somebody comes in and they say, I want to buy a set of interchangeable needles, which one? I say, you need to sit down at the table and try them. So I'll put people at the table with all of the different needles and have them, you know, work the join, you know, bring them together, tighten them, open them, you know, look at the case, knit with them at different sizes with different yarns so that they can feel the difference. And if you're thinking about a set of interchangeables, whether it's these new Rowan or the Lykke Flight or any of the Lykke line or the ChiaoGoo squares or the, you know, any of them, it is so worthwhile to buy a couple fixed circulars of that brand and see what you think, because it's better to maybe buy a, you know, a $25 fixed needle and know that it's not what you want than to buy a whole set and find that it's not what you want, you know. So anyway, um, that's what I found, and I hope that that is interesting to you. And if you have questions or comments, please leave it in the comments section. I read those myself, and I try to respond to every single one. And if you are new to the channel and you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe. And if you click that little bell next to subscribe, it will notify you every time I go live or I have a new video put up. So that's very fun to know because then you never miss anything. All right. So I appreciate you being here tonight and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.